The eternal flame of calm. Long ago, in the heart of ancient Rome, there burned a flame unlike any other. It was not a flame of destruction or chaos, but a flame of quiet strength, a steady light that never faltered. This was the eternal flame of Vesta, guardian of hearth, home, and the sacred balance of life. Many walked past the temple without noticing it, but for some, the flame called softly, drawing them closer. It spoke not in words, but in warmth, in gentle light, in the subtle rhythm that seemed to pulse through the very stones of the temple. To those who listened, it offered guidance, reflection, and a calm certainty that even in a bustling world, there was a place of serenity and gentle wisdom. So please tell me which part of world you are and what time you are listening this. In this story, we follow a young seeker, curious, attentive, and patient, who is drawn toward that sacred flame. Along quiet streets, through serene gardens, and within the soft, hallowed halls of the temple, the seeker learns the subtle lessons of the Vestal virgins and the gentle power of Vesta's light. Each step, each breath, each quiet observation brings calm understanding, slow reflection, and the quiet strength of inner peace. As you listen, allow yourself to settle into a comfortable position. Feel each word flow over you like a soft, warm glow. Let your mind wander slowly through the stone paths, the sacred gardens, and the gentle flicker of the eternal flame. With every moment, let tension fade, breathing slow, body relax, and thoughts drift gently into calmness. And now, softly, quietly, we begin. We begin the story of Vesta and the eternal flame, a gentle journey into sacred light, quiet lessons, and the serene rhythm of ancient Rome. The first flicker, the call of the eternal flame. The city of Rome lay in the soft hush of early dawn. Even the cobblestone streets, usually busy with merchants and travelers, seemed to breathe quietly under the first gentle light. A thin veil of mist lingered over the Tiber River, curling around the edges of bridges and reflecting the pale amber of the waking sun. It was a morning where everything felt deliberate, measured, and calm, as though the city itself had paused to take a deep breath. Among the quiet streets walked a young seeker, moving slowly, observing the world with gentle attention. He noticed the way the morning light fell softly upon the stone walls of houses, how the dew glistened on small patches of grass between the cobblestones, and the faint sounds of birds greeting the new day. Each detail was a whisper, a subtle lesson in patience and presence, urging him to move carefully and to notice the world around him. His journey had no urgency. He did not rush toward some loud goal, nor did he carry heavy burdens of expectation. He walked slowly, letting his senses attune to the rhythm of the city, the soft breeze, and the subtle hum of life awakening around him. And yet, in the quiet corners of his mind, a gentle curiosity had begun to stir, a quiet beckoning toward a place he had never seen, yet somehow always known. It began as a small flicker in the distance, barely visible beyond the rising buildings. A faint, golden glow, steady and warm, like the heartbeat of the city itself. It was a light that called softly, without urgency, drawing the seeker's gaze with its quiet insistence. He paused for a moment, letting the calm warmth of the glow settle within him, breathing in its gentle presence. The glow came from the temple of Vesta, the sacred home of the eternal flame. For centuries, the flame had burned without interruption, tended by the Vestal virgins, guardians of its warmth and light. It was said that the flame carried the quiet strength of Rome itself, a steady, enduring presence that reminded all who approached that some forces are gentle yet everlasting. Today, it seemed to call directly to him, inviting him closer, offering soft guidance to those willing to walk slowly and observe carefully. He moved toward the temple with measured steps, noticing the subtle patterns of shadows along the streets. The stone walls seemed to lean slightly with the morning light, the columns of small shrines casting long, delicate lines across the ground. Every motion of his body, every shift of his gaze, was deliberate, like a soft conversation with the city itself. Even the faint rustle of leaves in a nearby courtyard carried meaning, an unspoken encouragement to continue, calmly, steadily, and attentively. As he neared the temple, the glow of the eternal flame grew warmer, more inviting. The air around him seemed softer, carrying the faint scent of incense and flowers left by early visitors. A quiet hum of energy lingered in the space, not loud or demanding, but steady, like a gentle pulse beneath the earth. It drew him in, not through force, but through the subtle promise of presence, reflection, and calm understanding. He paused at the edge of the courtyard, kneeling briefly to rest his hands on the smooth stone. The texture was cool beneath his fingers, yet the sunlight began to warm it gently. He let his thoughts settle, noticing how the quiet light and the soft air seemed to align with the rhythm of his own heartbeat. For a moment, he felt as if the world had slowed completely, leaving only him and the gentle guidance of the eternal flame. Nearby, the Vestal Virgins moved quietly, their robes brushing softly against the stone floors. They tended the flame with calm precision, each motion deliberate and unhurried. No words were spoken, yet the rhythm of their presence seemed to communicate a profound sense of peace, balance, and care. The young seeker observed without distraction, noticing the small gestures, the careful movements, and the quiet attention that kept the flame alive through centuries. He realized, even in this first moment, that the journey toward understanding the eternal flame would not be fast or loud. It was a path of awareness, patience, and gentle courage. Every step, every breath, every quiet observation mattered. And so he stood, slowly, letting the warmth of the flame settle within him, letting its light guide him softly into the path ahead. With a calm exhale, he began to walk into the temple courtyard, feeling the subtle rhythm of his own steps echo softly on the stone floor. He moved carefully, deliberately, attuned to the gentle guidance of the flame and the quiet wisdom of the Vestal Virgins. And as he stepped closer, he felt the first true connection to the eternal flame, a sense of steady calm, enduring strength, and soft, guiding warmth that promised lessons yet to unfold. The journey had begun, not with loud triumph, nor with forceful action, but with a quiet. The path to the flame. The young seeker stepped deeper into the temple courtyard, the soft light of the eternal flame washing gently across the stone floor. Every movement was deliberate, every breath slow, as if he were walking in harmony with the steady heartbeat of the flame itself. The air carried a subtle warmth, mingled with the faint scent of incense, softly curling around him like a protective cloak. He moved along a path lined with slender columns, their surfaces smooth and cool beneath his fingers. Sunlight filtered through the small gaps above, scattering in golden streaks that danced softly across the courtyard, illuminating the gentle sway of vines and flowers that clung to the edges of the stone. Each step he took was unhurried, allowing him to notice the minute details, the way light and shadow intertwined, the faint hum of the earth beneath his feet, and the rhythm of his own steady heartbeat. Nearby, a small pool reflected the eternal glow of the flame. The water was calm, undisturbed, like a mirror for the soul. The young seeker knelt for a moment, letting his fingers brush the cool surface, and he felt a soft vibration ripple through him, subtle yet grounding. The flame above, mirrored in the water, seemed endless, a quiet symbol of patience, continuity, and enduring calm. The Vestal virgins moved gracefully along the courtyard, their robes whispering softly as they tended the sacred spaces. Each movement, measured and careful, held a silent lesson in mindfulness and awareness. They did not speak aloud, yet their presence communicated serenity, balance, and an understanding that even the smallest gesture could carry meaning. The young seeker observed them, allowing the rhythm of their quiet devotion to settle within him, aligning his own thoughts and movements with the gentle flow of the temple. As he followed the path closer to the heart of the temple, he noticed subtle patterns along the floor, delicate mosaics worn smooth by centuries of careful footsteps. They depicted scenes of Rome itself, quiet rivers winding through hills, soft morning light falling on distant temples, and gentle figures in contemplative poses. Every detail seemed designed to teach calm observation, to slow the mind, and to remind those who approached that presence mattered more than haste. He paused beneath an archway, feeling the cool shade wrap around him. Above, small carvings caught the light in delicate patterns, spirals, vines, and tiny flames etched into stone. He reached out, lightly tracing one of the spirals with his fingertips, feeling the subtle curves beneath his hand. In that moment, he understood that the path to the eternal flame was as much about careful attention as it was about distance traveled. It was a journey of mindfulness, of absorbing lessons from every step, every whisper of the air, and every quiet motion of the temple around him. A soft breeze brushed across the courtyard, carrying with it the scent of distant flowers and the faint murmur of the city waking beyond the temple walls. The young seeker inhaled slowly, letting the aroma settle in his mind, calming every lingering tension. Even the distant sounds of the awakening city, footsteps on stone, a faint call of a merchant, seemed muted, distant, unimportant, as if the temple existed in its own gentle dimension. Here, only the flame, the stone, the water, and the subtle presence of the Vestal virgins mattered. He continued along the pathway, each footstep echoing softly, a delicate rhythm in the otherwise still courtyard. The glow of the eternal flame grew warmer as he neared the inner sanctum, casting a soft amber light that touched every column, vine, and stone with gentle illumination. It was not a harsh or glaring light, but a soft, embracing glow, like the warmth of a calm sunrise spreading across a quiet landscape. Finally, he arrived at a small raised platform before the hearth where the eternal flame burned. It flickered softly, steady and unwavering, as if breathing in quiet rhythm with the temple itself. The young seeker knelt before it, feeling the warmth radiate slowly into his chest, filling him with calm reassurance and a quiet sense of belonging. The flame seemed to whisper without words, teaching patience, attentiveness, and the profound lesson that some strengths are quiet, enduring, and steady. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the gentle heat and light seep into his thoughts, calming every tension, slowing every breath. This first encounter with the eternal flame was not a triumph in the loud sense. It was the quiet realization of presence, awareness, and inner stillness. He understood that the journey ahead would be guided not by force, speed, or loud action, but by careful observation, steady heart, and the gentle flow of attention. The courtyard, the water, the flame, and the vestal virgins all seemed to exhale together, as if acknowledging his presence, his care, and his quiet patience. The first lesson of the flame, the young seeker lingered before the eternal flame, letting its warmth and steady glow fill the quiet space around him. It was not a light that demanded attention, it was a soft, patient presence, steady in its rhythm, as if it had always existed and always would. Every flicker, every gentle sway of the flame, seemed to communicate a subtle lesson: strength need not shout, power can be calm, quiet, and enduring. He knelt once more, feeling the stone beneath his knees and the gentle heat rising from the hearth. The flame reflected softly in his eyes, shimmering like a distant sun in miniature, steady yet alive. In that reflected light, he began to notice the smallest details: the delicate curl of smoke rising, the faint golden sparks that danced before fading, the way the shadows moved across the walls in harmony with the flame. Each observation slowed his thoughts, gently guiding him to a deeper awareness of the present moment. Around him, the temple itself seemed to respond. The soft rustle of leaves from the courtyard garden reached him as a whisper, carrying the faint aroma of early morning blossoms. The faint ripple of water from the small reflecting pool nearby mirrored the flame's rhythm, a subtle dance of light and movement. Even the Vestal virgins moved with heightened awareness, their soft gestures emphasizing that each action, no matter how small, could be performed with care, reverence, and attention. The young seeker felt his own heartbeat slow in response, syncing with the calm pulse of the flame and the quiet energy of the temple. For the first time, he understood that the eternal flame was not merely fire, it was a teacher. Its lessons were subtle, almost imperceptible, yet profoundly powerful: patience, steadiness, mindfulness, and quiet courage. It taught that the greatest strength is often silent, present in small, deliberate actions rather than in noise or display. He reached out slowly, cupping his hands near the flame without touching it, feeling the gentle warmth flow through his palms. It was comforting, steady, like the embrace of a kind presence guiding him softly forward. And in that warmth, a quiet thought settled within him, that the path to understanding and balance requires careful observation, attentive heart, and deliberate steps. Haste or force could never unlock the true lessons of the flame, only calm patience and quiet presence could. As he continued to observe, the young seeker noticed how the flame seemed to interact with everything around it. The columns, the vines, the reflecting pool, all appeared to respond subtly, highlighting the interconnectedness of all things. Nothing existed in isolation. Every movement, every light, every breath was part of a gentle, ongoing rhythm. The flame taught him to see not only itself but also the harmony it created in the world around it. He took a deep breath, slowly exhaling, feeling the calm settle through his body. The warmth of the flame reached into his chest, his shoulders, and down to his fingertips, grounding him completely in the present. The worries, the haste, the noise of the outside world all seemed distant, insignificant, as if the temple and its sacred light had created a protective bubble of serenity just for him. For a long while, he simply sat in silence, letting the flame speak without words. It spoke in rhythm, in warmth, in quiet insistence, teaching him the value of steady focus, gentle strength, and mindful attention. He realized that life's challenges would not always arrive as storms or loud confrontations. Often, the greatest tests come softly, demanding patience, awareness, and quiet courage to navigate. The Vestal Virgins, though silent, seemed to acknowledge his presence with subtle nods and calm gestures. Their serene focus mirrored the flame's steady energy, reminding him that dedication and mindfulness are cultivated through careful practice, repeated attention, and quiet respect for the rhythm of life. As the morning light strengthened, spilling softly through the temple's open arches, the young seeker felt a sense of calm accomplishment. He had arrived not through force, not through speed, but through deliberate observation, steady movement, and patient attention. The eternal flame had revealed its first lesson: true strength is quiet, enduring, and deeply connected to the world around it. Finally, he rose, moving slowly to step back from the hearth. The warmth of the flame lingered in his mind, his body, and his spirit. He understood that this was only the beginning of his journey with Vesta and the sacred flame, and that each step forward would continue to teach him patience, mindfulness, and the gentle power of presence. With a final, slow glance at the flickering light, he prepared to explore the temple further, carrying the first lesson of the eternal flame quietly in his heart. The journey had begun, gentle and deliberate, guided by the steady rhythm of fire. The path to the temple gardens, morning light and quiet steps. The morning had grown a little brighter, spilling soft golden light across the temple courtyard. The eternal flame, still flickering with gentle warmth, seemed to welcome the young seeker as he moved slowly toward the outer garden. Every step on the smooth stone floor echoed lightly, a gentle rhythm accompanying the subtle hum of the waking city beyond the temple walls. The courtyard itself was calm, as if holding its breath for the quiet unfolding of the day. The cool stone of the columns contrasted with the soft warmth of the rising sun, and the faint aroma of incense and fresh flowers lingered in the air. The young seeker inhaled slowly, letting the scent settle in his mind and fill him with a serene awareness. He noticed the dew clinging delicately to leaves in the small garden patches, each droplet reflecting the light like tiny, perfect jewels. With measured steps, he passed through a stone archway that led toward the temple gardens, a space he had heard of in whispers but never seen. The path curved gently, flanked by low hedges and flowering plants that swayed softly in the morning breeze. Sunlight filtered through the branches of ancient olive trees, casting long, delicate shadows on the ground, and every flicker of light seemed purposeful, guiding his careful movement. The garden was a sanctuary within the temple grounds, a place of reflection, peace, and gentle guidance. Even before he entered fully, he could feel its calm energy, like a quiet melody carried on the wind. The air here was softer, warmer, and the faint rustle of leaves harmonized with the distant murmur of the Tiber River beyond the walls. It felt as if the garden existed in its own gentle rhythm, separate from the noise of the city, inviting all who entered to slow down, breathe deeply, and observe carefully. He followed the winding path slowly, noticing the subtle textures beneath his feet, the smooth stones, the patches of soft moss, and the occasional fallen petal that had drifted from the flowering trees. Each sensation reminded him to stay present, to let his mind rest in the moment rather than rushing forward. Every step became a small meditation, a soft echo of the lessons from the eternal flame, reinforcing patience, attentiveness, and quiet courage. A gentle fountain appeared ahead, its water spilling softly over carved stone, creating a rhythmic, calming murmur. He paused to kneel beside it, feeling the cool mist lightly touch his face, and traced the delicate carvings along the fountain's edge. Figures of ancient gods and symbolic animals were etched with careful detail, each telling a quiet story of balance, harmony, and gentle wisdom. He let his fingers linger on the carvings, appreciating their precision and imagining the slow, deliberate hands that had shaped them centuries ago. Nearby, a small bench rested beneath the shade of a flowering arbor. He moved toward it deliberately, letting the dappled sunlight filter softly across his shoulders. Sitting there, he allowed his mind to absorb the serenity around him, the rustle of leaves, the soft call of birds hidden in the branches, and the quiet reflection of the eternal flame still echoing in his memory. The garden's soft colors, greens of the hedges, pale blossoms, and muted gold sunlight, blended gently, creating a tranquil palette that seemed to soothe his thoughts. He noticed tiny details, the curve of a leaf, the subtle veins of a flower petal, the gentle sway of branches in a slow, almost imperceptible rhythm. Each observation slowed his mind, deepened his awareness, and anchored him in the calm present. As he breathed deeply, he realized the garden was more than just a physical space. It was a place of quiet lessons, much like the eternal flame. Here, patience could be felt in the gentle growth of plants, mindfulness in the careful arrangement of stones and fountains, and courage in the way the garden had endured the passing centuries, remaining calm and steadfast despite the changing city around it. He closed his eyes briefly, letting the warmth of the morning sun and the gentle rhythm of the fountain settle into his chest. In this quiet, meditative moment, he understood that the journey through the temple gardens was not about reaching a destination quickly. It was about slowing down, noticing, breathing, and allowing the gentle flow of the world to guide him softly forward. With a calm exhale, he rose from the bench, feeling the subtle pulse of the garden beneath his feet. The path ahead curved further into shaded groves and flowering archways, inviting him to continue slowly, mindfully, and fully present. And as he stepped forward, he felt the first whisper of the next lesson waiting to unfold, a quiet, gentle teaching hidden in the soft embrace of the temple gardens. Whispering groves and gentle lessons, the young seeker continued along the winding garden path, each step slower and more deliberate than the last. The sunlight, filtering softly through the leaves above, seemed to move with him, creating patterns of gold and green that danced gently across the stones. A faint breeze rustled the branches of olive and cypress trees, carrying with it the delicate scent of jasmine and early morning blossoms. Each breath he took felt like a quiet dialogue with the garden itself, a soft reminder that the world around him was alive with calm guidance. As he walked deeper, the path curved into a grove where the trees formed natural arches overhead. Here, shadows and light intertwined in a slow, fluid rhythm, creating a serene tapestry of shifting shapes. The young seeker paused to observe, noticing how each leaf, each branch, moved with intention in the gentle breeze. Even in the stillness, there was motion, a subtle reminder that life continues quietly, gracefully, and without force. Along the path, Small fountains and stone basins caught his attention. Water trickled over moss-covered edges, producing a soft, soothing murmur that blended perfectly with the quiet calls of hidden birds. He knelt beside one of the basins, letting his hands hover just above the surface. The water reflected the pale sunlight, shimmering with gentle warmth, and he felt a calming energy pulse through him, steadying his thoughts and slowing his heartbeat. The grove seemed to guide him forward, as though the trees themselves were patient teachers, showing him the way without words. Every curve of the path, every archway, every subtle shift of light encouraged him to move carefully and attentively. He realized that the garden was a living lesson in mindfulness, that each observation, no matter how small, could bring clarity and calm. A soft rustle to his right drew his attention to a small cluster of wildflowers, their petals pale pink and lavender. The sunlight touched them in such a way that they seemed to glow softly, their delicate fragrance reaching him through the air. He knelt briefly to observe their subtle beauty, noticing the tiny veins in each petal and the intricate symmetry of their bloom. It was a gentle reminder that strength and beauty often exist in quiet, delicate forms. The path widened slightly as he approached a series of low stone benches nestled beneath the canopy of flowering trees. He sat on one, allowing his hands to rest lightly on the smooth stone surface. Around him, the grove hummed softly with life, the slow, deliberate motion of leaves, the faint trickle of water, the occasional chirp of a bird hidden in the branches. It was a place where time seemed to stretch, where the rhythm of the outside world melted into a gentle, endless calm. He thought back to the eternal flame in the temple, recalling the warmth and steady light it offered. The garden, he realized, carried a similar lesson. The plants grew slowly, deliberately, responding to the sun, soil, and water with patience and care. The stone paths and fountains had endured centuries, quietly holding their places without hurry or demand. And just as the flame taught him about quiet strength, the garden taught him about gentle persistence, mindfulness, and the beauty of slow growth. Breathing deeply, he closed his eyes and let the garden's lessons settle within him. He felt a sense of alignment between his own rhythm and the soft pulse of life around him. The sunlight warming his shoulders, the cool breeze brushing his cheeks, and the gentle murmur of water all combined to create a subtle, grounding energy. It was as if the entire grove existed to teach him that stillness is not emptiness, and patience is not inaction. It is a quiet, deliberate engagement with life itself. After a long moment of calm reflection, he rose, stepping carefully along the path. The grove seemed to stretch endlessly ahead, revealing hidden nooks, shaded corners, and quiet fountains waiting to be noticed. Each new step was an invitation to slow further, observe more deeply, and absorb the gentle rhythm of the temple gardens. With the soft warmth of morning on his back and the lingering murmur of water in his ears, he continued forward. Every movement, every breath, every glance was a quiet affirmation. This journey was not about haste or achievement, but about awareness, patience, and the subtle lessons the world offers to those who pay attention. And so, slowly, deliberately, he moved deeper into the heart of the garden, ready to encounter the lessons hidden beneath its gentle shade and the wisdom carried by its soft, whispering paths. The heart of peace, the traveler continued walking through the vast, golden meadows of Elysium, feeling the soft warmth of the light on their skin and the gentle sway of pale blossoms brushing against their hands. The mist, delicate and curling, seemed to shimmer with a golden hue, wrapping the land in a soft embrace. Streams meandered quietly across the plains, their waters perfectly still in some places, gently rippling in others, reflecting the slow, graceful movements of drifting spirits. Each step of the traveler felt deliberate, measured, and in harmony with the gentle rhythm of this radiant realm. Pale spirits wandered gracefully through the fields, each moving with quiet intention. Some paused beside pools, tracing delicate circles on the mirror, like water with their fingers, watching the ripples expand slowly across the surface. Others strolled beneath clusters of luminous trees, brushing petals or leaves aside with tender care, their motions unhurried and calm. A few floated in soft circles with companions, their faces serene, their laughter a faint, melodic whisper that mingled with the rustle of leaves and the gentle flow of water. The traveler felt each movement seep into their consciousness, teaching the unspoken rhythm of presence, patience, and gentle reflection. Persephone appeared beside the traveler, her soft glow blending seamlessly with the golden light of the fields. She gestured toward the center of a broad meadow, where the largest pools reflected streams, flowers, and drifting spirits alike. "This is the heart of Elysium," she said in a voice soft and musical. "Here, every motion, every breath, every ripple joins together in harmony, creating a profound calm that touches all who enter." Hades remained nearby, his quiet, grounding presence a steady contrast to the warm, luminous energy of the meadow. Together, they guided the traveler toward the center, inviting them to witness the full serenity of this blessed place. The traveler approached one of the wider pools, its surface perfectly still, reflecting the golden sky above and the drifting forms of spirits around it. Tiny ripples began to spread when a spirit lightly touched the water, and these merged with other movements, forming overlapping patterns that shimmered softly. The effect was hypnotic, soothing, and meditative. The traveler knelt beside the pool, letting their fingers trace the edges of the water and watching the ripples dance slowly across the reflective surface. Each ripple seemed to echo a gentle reminder: presence, mindfulness, and serenity are always available, even in movement. Clusters of golden flowers swayed gently in the soft breeze, their petals brushing lightly against one another, creating a faint, melodic rustle. Birds with pale feathers glided above the fields, their soft calls blending with the distant hum of flowing water and the subtle whispers of drifting spirits. The traveler observed small groups of souls engaged in quiet, deliberate activities, tracing patterns in sand, brushing petals aside, or simply floating in reflective meditation. Every gesture, no matter how small, contributed to the gentle harmony of the meadow, reinforcing the underlying rhythm of calm that defined Elysium. From a gentle rise in the meadow, the traveler could see the full expanse of the radiant plains, streams flowing in sweeping curves, clusters of luminous trees, fields of glowing blossoms, and spirits moving slowly in meditative harmony. The traveler paused, inhaling deeply, feeling the rhythm of the land settle into their own heartbeat. Each breath lengthened, each step slowed, and each glance became a meditation. Here, at the heart of Elysium, light, joy, and reflection existed together in perfect balance, teaching a deep, enduring serenity. Persephone guided the traveler to a soft patch of grass beside one of the largest pools, encouraging them to sit quietly. Hades stood silently nearby, observing the serene harmony of the plains. The traveler let the calm of Elysium wash over them, noticing how every sound, the rippling streams, the soft rustle of leaves, the faint flutter of wings, the whispered laughter of spirits, blended seamlessly into a slow, rhythmic symphony of peace. In this moment, the traveler understood the essence of the underworld. Even in shadowed depths, reflective plains, or radiant fields, there was always a rhythm, a gentle balance, and an enduring serenity waiting to be felt. With one final, slow, deep breath, the traveler rose, carrying the quiet pulse of Elysium in their mind, body, and soul. Every step forward was guided by the soft rhythm of this radiant realm, and every thought was softened by the gentle, meditative energy surrounding them. The traveler had reached the heart of peace, ready to continue through the final reflections of the underworld, where the harmony of shadow, light, reflection, and joy would be remembered and carried forward. The Vestal Virgins, guardians of the flame. The young seeker's steps brought him closer to the heart of the temple, where the Vestal Virgins moved with a serene purpose. Their presence was quiet yet commanding, a gentle authority carried in the rhythm of their movements rather than in words or gestures. Long, flowing robes brushed softly against the stone floors, creating a barely audible whisper, and their calm demeanor seemed to radiate a protective energy over the eternal flame. The courtyard of the inner sanctum was shaded and cool, the air carrying a faint scent of burning incense and polished stone. The eternal flame burned steadily at the center, its soft glow reflected in the young seeker's eyes. It was here, among these women who had devoted their lives to guarding this sacred light, that he felt the depth of the temple's quiet wisdom. The Vestal Virgins moved with deliberate care, tending the flame, arranging small offerings of flowers and grains, and performing gentle rituals that seemed to stretch time itself. Every motion was precise yet effortless, as if centuries of practice had woven each gesture into the very fabric of their beings. The young seeker observed silently, his breath slow, allowing every detail, the way a hand hovered above the hearth before placement, the subtle bow of a head, the soft murmur of prayers, to sink into his awareness. It was clear that the eternal flame was not just fire. It was a living presence, demanding careful attention, reverence, and patience. The Vestal's dedication reminded him that even the smallest actions, performed with mindfulness, could sustain something enduring, powerful, and profoundly meaningful. He noticed how each virgin seemed attuned not only to the flame but to the temple itself, the stone walls, the reflecting pools, the wind brushing through the trees, moving in harmony with the subtle energy around them. A faint glow of morning sunlight spilled through the high windows, touching the robes and the flame in golden warmth. The young seeker felt his shoulders relax, his heartbeat slowing, and a sense of calm presence settled deep in his chest. Here, amid the gentle ritual and serene motion, he began to understand that guardianship was not about domination or control, it was about care, attention, and steady presence. The eternal flame endured not through power or force, but through quiet dedication and respect, sustained by deliberate, patient hands. He noticed one of the Vestal Virgins pausing beside the hearth, her hands hovering as if feeling the rhythm of the flame itself. The soft glow touched her features, serene and composed, and in her calm gaze, he saw a reflection of what he sought, inner strength that did not need to shout, and wisdom that came from stillness rather than haste. He inhaled slowly, feeling a sense of alignment with the gentle energy surrounding him. Every gesture, every breath, every flicker of the flame became a teacher, guiding him to slow his thoughts and open his awareness. The courtyard was filled with subtle sounds, the rustle of robes, the gentle shift of feet on stone, the soft hum of the wind through the temple columns. All were woven together into a quiet symphony, and the young seeker felt as though he had become part of it, another element of the calm, deliberate rhythm of the sacred space. He understood that learning here was not about instruction, but about absorption, letting the rhythm, the light, and the motion settle into him naturally, softly, and without effort. For a long while, he knelt beside the eternal flame, observing the vestals tending it. Each movement seemed to whisper a lesson, that mindfulness matters, that steady presence sustains life, and that true strength often manifests in subtle, deliberate care. He began to feel a gentle warmth spread through him, not only from the flame but from the understanding it carried, that patience, attentiveness, and quiet devotion could illuminate the mind and calm the spirit. The sunlight shifted slowly across the courtyard, brushing lightly over the stone and the soft folds of the vestal's robes. The young seeker exhaled slowly, letting the lesson settle in his heart. He realized that this first encounter with the guardians of the flame had given him more than guidance. It had offered a model of steadiness, reverence, and calm courage, and he knew that these lessons would carry him forward as he continued his journey through the temple. With a gentle rise, he stepped back slightly, keeping his eyes on the flame and the vestal's deliberate movements. He understood that his journey would be long and filled with quiet lessons, each one unfolding slowly, like the steady pulse of the eternal flame itself. And so, with calm anticipation, he prepared to move deeper into the temple, ready to absorb the wisdom that awaited him in the sacred halls, gardens, and hidden corners where the flame's gentle power was most profound. Morning rituals and gentle wisdom, the young seeker remained quietly in the inner courtyard, his gaze softly following the movements of the Vestal virgins as they prepared for the morning rituals. There was no rush, no noise, only a slow, deliberate rhythm, as if the temple itself had drawn a breath and held it, allowing everything to unfold in gentle harmony. Every step of the Vestals, every placement of flowers or grains by the hearth, carried a quiet precision that seemed to echo through the stones beneath their feet. He observed how one virgin carefully lifted a small bowl of water, letting it flow in a steady stream into the reflecting basin near the eternal flame. The water rippled softly, catching the golden glow of the flame and scattering it in delicate patterns across the courtyard. The young seeker noticed how each motion was intentional yet effortless, like a dance with the elements around her. Even the smallest gesture seemed imbued with meaning, reminding him that mindfulness in action could transform ordinary tasks into profound lessons. Nearby, another virgin arranged small flowers on a stone ledge. She paused to study each bloom, ensuring it rested just so, before placing it gently beside the hearth. The young seeker watched, noticing the careful attention to detail, the way her fingers brushed the petals, the subtle tilt of her head, the way she exhaled softly between movements. It was a quiet, calming choreography, one that conveyed reverence not only for the flame but for the entire temple, its gardens, and the gentle rhythm of life itself. The soft murmur of prayers floated through the air, low and steady, blending seamlessly with the sounds of water and wind in the courtyard. The young seeker closed his eyes briefly, letting the gentle cadence of the voices and the flicker of the eternal flame wash over him. He felt the rhythm seep into his own heartbeat, slowing it, deepening it, aligning his awareness with the serene flow of the sacred space. In this calm observation, he noticed the profound balance the Vestals maintained. They tended the flame, cared for the temple, and performed rituals, all while moving with a patience that seemed to stretch time itself. He realized that the eternal flame was not sustained by fire alone. It was the careful devotion, the deliberate attention, and the quiet energy of those who guarded it. The flame's endurance mirrored their presence, steady, gentle, and enduring. As the morning sun climbed higher, the courtyard filled with soft, warm light. The young seeker took deliberate breaths, feeling the heat of the sun on his skin and the comforting glow of the eternal flame reflected in the water. He noticed the subtle interplay of movement and stillness, the Vestal's gentle steps, the sway of trees, the tiny ripples across the pool, and he understood that calm strength was born from harmony between action and patience. He approached a small stone bench near the hearth, sitting carefully and letting his eyes continue to follow the Vestals. From this quiet vantage point, he could see the meticulous care in every gesture, the folding of robes, the placement of candles, the gentle stirring of incense smoke that curled upward in thin, graceful spirals. Each detail seemed to whisper a lesson about presence, attention, and the power of thoughtful action. Even the smallest movement, performed with care, could hold lasting significance. He noticed the way the Vestals seemed connected to each other and to the flame, moving in synchronized harmony without words, their actions flowing like a gentle current. The young seeker felt a similar current within himself, a quiet energy that deepened his sense of calm and strengthened his ability to observe without distraction. It was as if the temple itself, the flame, and the guardians were teaching him through rhythm and presence rather than instruction. A single breath, slow and deliberate, carried the scent of incense, the warmth of the sun, and the calm energy of the eternal flame into his chest. He felt his mind settle completely, thoughts slowing like gentle ripples in still water. The morning ritual had become more than a set of actions. It was a living lesson, a demonstration of how calm, steady attention can sustain life, wisdom, and sacred purpose. The young seeker understood that this day, this first encounter with the Vestal Virgins, would remain within him as a foundation for all that was to come. Their quiet dedication had taught him the first profound truth: mindful presence, patient care, and gentle attention are as powerful as fire itself. Rising slowly from the bench, he felt the soft warmth of the sun on his shoulders, carrying with him the quiet lessons of the morning. With deliberate steps, he continued deeper into the temple, ready to explore the sacred halls and gardens, where the next revelations of calm strength and enduring wisdom awaited him. The quiet guidance the young seeker lingered quietly in the inner courtyard, feeling the gentle warmth of the eternal flame brushing his face and the soft light of the morning spilling over the stone paths. Every detail, the flicker of the flame, the subtle sway of leaves, the faint ripple of water, seemed alive with gentle intention. It was here, amid the measured rhythm of the Vestal Virgins, that he began to sense the deeper guidance the temple offered, a quiet wisdom that moved not in words, but in presence. One of the Vestals approached the hearth, her steps deliberate, her gaze calm and serene. She did not speak aloud, yet the energy she carried was full of understanding and quiet encouragement. The young seeker felt an unspoken invitation to kneel, to center himself, and to open his awareness fully to the lessons of the flame. He lowered himself onto the stone, letting the warmth of the hearth seep into his chest and flow softly through his limbs. The Virgin moved with graceful precision, tending the flame and adjusting the small offerings around it. Each motion was slow, attentive, and purposeful, demonstrating that care is a form of devotion and that devotion can sustain what seems eternal. Watching her, the young seeker felt the first true sense of connection between presence and purpose, that by simply being attentive, by moving deliberately, one could maintain harmony and strength in the world. He noticed the faint glow of the flame reflected in her eyes, steady and unwavering, a mirror of the calm energy it radiated. The Virgin paused briefly, raising her hands in a soft gesture toward the flame, and the young seeker realized that even in silence, communication could be profound. The quiet exchange of awareness, intention, and care was teaching him that wisdom often speaks without words, and that guidance can be found in stillness, observation, and patience. Around them, the courtyard seemed to pulse with subtle life. The breeze stirred the leaves gently, the water in the reflecting pool shimmered softly, and distant birds called in harmonious rhythm. The young seeker allowed himself to breathe in unison with this natural cadence, inhaling slowly, exhaling gently, and feeling each breath synchronize with the temple's quiet energy. It was a moment of profound calm, where mind, body, and spirit aligned with the enduring presence of the flame and the gentle vigilance of the Vestals. He reflected on the lessons already revealed, that endurance is born of patience, that strength is nurtured through careful attention, and that even the smallest gestures, when performed with care, can hold lasting significance. The Vestals embodied these truths, moving with purpose yet without haste, their very existence a meditation on balance, devotion, and mindful presence. The young seeker reached out slowly, letting his hands hover near the flame without touching it, feeling its warmth ripple gently through him. In that moment, he sensed a subtle teaching, that energy, whether of fire, water, or spirit, is best sustained through respect, mindfulness, and gentle guidance rather than force or haste. The flame itself seemed to respond to his awareness, flickering softly as if acknowledging his presence, offering a quiet reassurance that he was beginning to understand. He closed his eyes, letting the combined warmth of the flame and the serene presence of the Vestals settle into his heart. Time seemed to stretch, each second lingering like a droplet of honey, slow, deliberate, and sweet. Every sound, the soft rustle of robes, the whisper of wind, the faint trickle of water, blended into a soothing symphony that carried the young seeker into deeper reflection. In this quiet, contemplative space, he felt an awakening of understanding, that the greatest lessons often arrive not through instruction, but through attentive observation, patience, and subtle guidance. The flame, the garden, and the Vestals had become his teachers, offering insight into calm strength, enduring presence, and the gentle power of deliberate action. Finally, he rose slowly, feeling the warmth and wisdom of the courtyard settle into his being. Every step he had taken, every moment of observation, every quiet breath had drawn him closer to understanding the sacred rhythm of the temple. And as he prepared to move forward, deeper into the halls and gardens, he carried the first profound lesson with him, that true strength is silent, enduring, and nurtured through gentle care and mindful presence. The journey continued, soft and deliberate, as the eternal flame glimmered steadily, and the Vestal virgins moved with quiet devotion, guiding him without a word, teaching him the art of calm, enduring wisdom. The eternal flame, reflection in the light. The young seeker lingered in the quiet courtyard, feeling the steady warmth of the eternal flame brush softly against his skin. Its glow was gentle but unwavering, a constant presence that seemed to radiate patience, strength, and calm. He knelt slowly, resting his hands lightly on the stone edge of the hearth, and let the soft energy of the fire settle deep into his chest. The flame flickered as though breathing, a quiet pulse that invited him to slow his thoughts, deepen his awareness, and simply be present. Around him, the Vestal virgins moved with a serene rhythm, their gestures deliberate and unhurried. One virgin lifted a small bowl of water, letting it spill in a soft, steady stream into a reflecting basin. The ripples spread gently across the surface, catching the golden light of the flame and scattering it like tiny sunbeams. Another virgin sprinkled petals with care, each one falling with perfect grace, as if guided by an unseen hand. The young seeker observed in silence, feeling a deepening sense of calm as he noticed how every small movement carried intention, reverence, and quiet power. The flame itself seemed to reach out to him, its warmth flowing not only to his body but to his mind and spirit. He noticed how it never wavered, even as the air shifted and the shadows danced. Its steadiness was a lesson in itself. Strength does not need to shout, and endurance does not need to strain. The eternal flame persisted because it was nurtured, respected, and observed with mindfulness, qualities far more powerful than force. He took a slow breath, letting the scent of incense, warm stone, and flowers fill his senses. With each inhalation, he felt the rhythm of the courtyard seep into him. With each exhalation, tension and hurry flowed out of him, leaving him lighter and more present. Time seemed to stretch, each moment lingering like a gentle wave, and he understood that the temple was teaching him to move through life with the same measured grace as the Vestals. The young seeker's eyes traced the flicker of the flame, noticing the tiny sparks that danced before fading into stillness. He realized that even in movement there was patience, and even in change there was constancy. The flame taught him that life's most enduring qualities were born not of haste, but of quiet attention, deliberate action, and calm awareness. A Vestal approached him silently, kneeling nearby with a small offering of flowers and grains. She did not speak, yet her presence communicated a gentle reassurance, a reminder that he was part of the temple's rhythm and that the lessons of the flame were now within reach. The young seeker closed his eyes, letting the warmth, light, and quiet devotion sink deeply into his being. He felt a soft alignment, a subtle shift in his energy, as though the flame itself was guiding him toward an inner steadiness he had not yet known. As he opened his eyes, he noticed the reflections of the fire in the water, the soft glow upon the stone, and the gentle gestures of the Vestals. Everything seemed connected: the flame, the temple, the courtyard, and even himself. It was a quiet harmony, a reminder that mindful presence, calm strength, and attentive care create balance and resilience. The young seeker understood that the eternal flame was both a guide and a mirror, reflecting the patience and dedication he cultivated within himself. He rose slowly, stepping back from the hearth, carrying the soft warmth and subtle wisdom of the flame in his chest. Every movement of the vestals, every ripple in the water, every flicker of light had become part of his understanding. The eternal flame had shown him that endurance is quiet, strength is calm, and guidance is often silent yet profound. With deliberate, measured steps, he began to move further into the temple gardens, the lessons of the hearth now intertwined with the gentle pulse of the sacred spaces around him. He felt prepared for the path ahead, knowing that the calm rhythm of the flame and the silent guidance of the vestals would continue to illuminate his journey. And as he walked, each breath, each glance, each slow step became a continuation of the same lesson. True power and lasting wisdom are born in quiet presence, careful attention, and patient devotion. Lessons in the deep. The traveler descended along a narrow, winding path, each step soft and deliberate, cushioned by the faint moss and smooth stone beneath. The mist thickened slightly, curling gently around jagged cliffs and deep crevices, creating a quiet veil between the plateau above and the shadowed depths below. Every sound seemed muted, softened by the lingering fog. The air was cool, heavy, and full of calm, carrying with it the subtle scent of damp stone and quiet reflection. Below, Tartarus opened into a vast, shadowed basin. Streams of dark water wound slowly through the chasms, their surfaces reflecting the pale light from above like liquid mirrors. The faint gurgle and ripple of water created a continuous, soothing hum, resonating with the slow pulse of the land. The traveler felt their own heartbeat align with the rhythm of the streams, each beat growing slower, more measured, matching the calm, deliberate movement of the underworld itself. Pale figures moved carefully among the rocks and fissures. These were the souls dwelling in Tartarus, not restless or frantic, but quietly reflective. Each movement was slow and intentional, as if they were walking through their own memories and choices, contemplating gently the paths that had led them here. Some knelt beside small pools, their hands tracing patterns in the water, creating faint ripples that spread outward in serene concentric circles. Others sat on smooth stones, gazing silently into the depths of shadowed streams, their faces calm, thoughtful, and unhurried. The traveler paused to watch a group of spirits near a slow, dark river that wound through the basin. The water reflected muted silver light, and each ripple seemed to carry a whisper of reflection, a soft invitation to look inward. One spirit traced a pattern of small stones along the riverbank, carefully arranging each pebble. The motion was deliberate and meditative, like a slow dance with the earth itself. The traveler felt drawn into the rhythm, inhaling slowly, exhaling with quiet awareness, letting the soft pulse of Tartarus settle into their body and mind. Persephone appeared at the edge of a narrow bridge, her soft robes brushing lightly against the stone. She gestured for the traveler to cross slowly, to absorb the harmony in the movement of the land and water. Hades stood nearby, his shadowed presence steady, silent, and reassuring. Together, they guided the energies of Tartarus, not with force or command, but with calm balance, ensuring that every ripple, every movement, every drifting spirit moved with deliberate purpose. The traveler understood that even in shadow, there could be harmony, reflection, and profound peace. Along the riverbanks, pale light shimmered on the surfaces of shallow pools. Tiny ripples spread lazily across the water as soft breezes moved through the fissures, carrying faint sounds of distant streams and slow, echoing currents. The traveler knelt beside one pool, letting their fingers brush the cool surface. The water mirrored the cliffs and drifting spirits above, creating a gentle, hypnotic pattern that seemed to pulse in quiet synchronization with their breathing. Every ripple invited calm thought, every reflection encouraged meditative presence, every subtle movement softened the tension of the mind. Some souls moved in pairs, walking side by side in quiet companionship. Their movements were slow and intentional, creating a soft rhythm of mirrored gestures and gentle harmony. Other souls remained alone, their focus inward, tracing the curves of stone or following the slow flow of water. Tartarus, though shadowed and deep, was not a place of chaos or fear. It was a sanctuary of deep reflection, where the lessons of life could be absorbed in deliberate, meditative stillness. The traveler paused to take a slow breath, inhaling the cool, heavy air of the shadowed basin, feeling the soft weight of reflection settle in their chest. Every detail, the ripple of water, the faint rustle of stone, the drifting forms of contemplative souls, worked together to create a quiet symphony of slow awareness. The mind softened, the heart relaxed, and the body surrendered to the gentle rhythm of the underworld's depth. Looking across the basin, the traveler understood the true purpose of Tartarus, not punishment in anger, but reflection in measured stillness. Every soul, every ripple, every shadowed corner carried a slow, enduring lesson in presence, balance, and gentle contemplation. Even in the deepest, darkest reaches, the underworld maintained harmony, guiding the mind, heart, and spirit into a profound, meditative calm that lingered long after each step. Reflection in the light. The young seeker lingered in the quiet courtyard, feeling the steady warmth of the eternal flame brush softly against his skin. Its glow was gentle but unwavering, a constant presence that seemed to radiate patience, strength, and calm. He knelt slowly, resting his hands lightly on the stone edge of the hearth, and let the soft energy of the fire settle deep into his chest. The flame flickered as though breathing, a quiet pulse that invited him to slow his thoughts, deepen his awareness, and simply be present. Around him, the Vestal virgins moved with a serene rhythm, their gestures deliberate and unhurried. One virgin lifted a small bowl of water, letting it spill in a soft, steady stream into a reflecting basin. The ripples spread gently across the surface, catching the golden light of the flame and scattering it like tiny sunbeams. Another virgin sprinkled petals with care, each one falling with perfect grace, as if guided by an unseen hand. The young seeker observed in silence, feeling a deepening sense of calm as he noticed how every small movement carried intention, reverence, and quiet power. The flame itself seemed to reach out to him, its warmth flowing not only to his body but to his mind and spirit. He noticed how it never wavered, even as the air shifted and the shadows danced. Its steadiness was a lesson in itself. Strength does not need to shout, and endurance does not need to strain. The eternal flame persisted because it was nurtured, respected, and observed with mindfulness, qualities far more powerful than force. He took a slow breath, letting the scent of incense, warm stone, and flowers fill his senses. With each inhalation, he felt the rhythm of the courtyard seep into him. With each exhalation, tension and hurry flowed out of him, leaving him lighter and more present. Time seemed to stretch, each moment lingering like a gentle wave, and he understood that the temple was teaching him to move through life with the same measured grace as the Vestals. The young seeker's eyes traced the flicker of the flame, noticing the tiny sparks that danced before fading into stillness. He realized that even in movement there was patience, and even in change there was constancy. The flame taught him that life's most enduring qualities were born not of haste, but of quiet attention, deliberate action, and calm awareness. A Vestal approached him silently, kneeling nearby with a small offering of flowers and grains. She did not speak, yet her presence communicated a gentle reassurance, a reminder that he was part of the temple's rhythm and that the lessons of the flame were now within reach. The young seeker closed his eyes, letting the warmth, light, and quiet devotion sink deeply into his being. He felt a soft alignment, a subtle shift in his energy, as though the flame itself was guiding him toward an inner steadiness he had not yet known. As he opened his eyes, he noticed the reflections of the fire in the water, the soft glow upon the stone, and the gentle gestures of the Vestals. Everything seemed connected: the flame, the temple, the courtyard, and even himself. It was a quiet harmony, a reminder that mindful presence, calm strength, and attentive care create balance and resilience. The young seeker understood that the eternal flame was both a guide and a mirror, reflecting the patience and dedication he cultivated within himself. He rose slowly, stepping back from the hearth, carrying the soft warmth and subtle wisdom of the flame in his chest. Every movement of the Vestals, every ripple in the water, every flicker of light had become part of his understanding. The eternal flame had shown him that endurance is quiet, strength is calm, and guidance is often silent yet profound. With deliberate, measured steps, he began to move further into the temple gardens, the lessons of the hearth now intertwined with the gentle pulse of the sacred spaces around him. He felt prepared for the path ahead, knowing that the calm rhythm of the flame and the silent guidance of the Vestals would continue to illuminate his journey. And as he walked, each breath, each glance, each slow step became a continuation of the same lesson: true power and lasting wisdom are born in quiet presence, careful attention, and patient devotion. Secrets of the Hidden Gardens, a gentle discovery. The young seeker moved slowly from the hearth of the eternal flame, feeling the warmth and calm of the fire linger softly in his chest. The sunlight that filtered through the temple columns fell in long, golden beams, painting the stone floors with gentle patterns of light and shadow. With each step, the soft echo of his movement seemed to harmonize with the quiet rhythm of the temple, as though the walls themselves breathed in time with him. Ahead, he noticed a narrow, vine-covered archway partially hidden behind a row of tall cypress trees. The air around it was cooler, scented faintly with the freshness of herbs and damp earth. It seemed quieter here, as if the courtyard had slowly exhaled, leaving only a delicate hush that invited him to pause and breathe. The young seeker felt a gentle curiosity rise in him, but he moved deliberately, allowing each footfall to be slow and attentive, honoring the calm energy of the space. He stepped under the archway, and the hidden garden revealed itself in soft, muted beauty. Sunlight filtered through the leaves in dappled patterns, touching the stone paths, low fountains, and carefully tended flower beds with a warm, golden glow. The air was fragrant with lavender, rosemary, and pale roses, each scent blending into a quiet, soothing symphony. Even the faint rustle of leaves and the gentle drip of water from a small fountain felt deliberate, rhythmic, and meditative. The path wound gently through the garden, curving past low stone benches and small, sunlit clearings. Here and there, tiny statues of minor gods and nymphs peeked out from between hedges, their expression serene and gentle, adding to the sense of stillness and careful guardianship. The young seeker noticed the care taken in every detail, the placement of stones, the alignment of flowering plants, the careful pruning of vines and shrubs. It seemed that every element of this hidden space had been arranged with patience, respect, and mindfulness. He knelt briefly beside a low fountain, letting his fingertips hover just above the surface of the water. The pool reflected the pale morning light, the gentle sway of leaves, and the quiet beauty of the surrounding flowers. As the water rippled softly under his touch, he felt a calm, grounding energy flow through him, slowing his thoughts and settling the pulse in his chest. Here, in this quiet, secluded place, he realized that the hidden garden was more than just a physical space. It was a living meditation, a sanctuary designed to teach stillness, patience, and observation. The young seeker continued along the winding paths, noticing tiny details that might have gone unseen at a faster pace, the subtle veins of a leaf, the delicate curve of a flower petal, the soft shimmer of dew on moss-covered stones. Each small observation deepened his awareness, allowing him to move not only through space but into the gentle rhythm of the garden itself. He felt connected to the living elements around him, as though the air, the water, the flowers, and the stone were guiding him softly toward lessons he had yet to understand. A low humming sound caught his attention. Following it slowly, he found a secluded alcove where a miniature fountain trickled continuously into a shallow basin. Tiny fish glided gracefully beneath the water, their movement calm and unhurried. The young seeker watched them, noticing how naturally they moved, how completely they were present in their gentle currents. He understood that this was a lesson in harmony, in living with awareness and ease, without struggle or haste. Nearby, a stone bench under a flowering arbor offered a quiet place to rest. He sat slowly, letting the sunlight warm his shoulders and the gentle breeze brush across his face. From this vantage point, the hidden garden felt like a sanctuary within a sanctuary, a secret heart of the temple where time seemed to slow and the soul could breathe freely. Every sound, the trickle of water, the rustle of leaves, the distant murmur of the eternal flame, blended into a soft, rhythmic melody that eased his mind and quieted his thoughts. He realized that the lessons of the hidden gardens were delicate and subtle. Patience, observation, and gentle awareness were key. Here, he was learning that the world holds wisdom not only in grand gestures but also in small, careful acts and in quiet spaces that reward attention and care. Taking a deep, slow breath, he rose from the bench and continued along the winding path. The garden invited him further, deeper into its shaded corners, where more quiet discoveries and gentle lessons awaited. And as he walked, he carried with him the calm warmth of the eternal flame, the guidance of the Vestal Virgins, and the soft rhythm of the hidden gardens, all weaving together to prepare him for the reflection still to come. Symbols and subtle whispers, the young seeker moved gently along the winding paths of the hidden garden, each step measured and unhurried. The air was cool and fragrant, carrying soft notes of lavender, sage, and earth warmed by the morning sun. Each breath he took felt like a quiet dialogue with the garden itself, a reminder that the smallest inhalation could anchor the mind and open the senses. Ahead, the path curved into a secluded alcove where a circle of small stone pedestals stood. Upon each pedestal rested a tiny statue, some depicting nymphs, others minor Roman deities, all carved with delicate care. The young seeker paused to observe them, noticing the intricate details, the gentle sway of a nymph's robes, the soft tilt of a deity's head, the calm expressions etched into every face. Even the placement of each pedestal seemed intentional, guiding him in subtle, almost imperceptible patterns around the alcove. A soft breeze passed through the alcove, rustling leaves and carrying a faint, almost musical whisper. The young seeker closed his eyes for a moment, letting the sounds wrap around him. Though he could not distinguish words, there was a rhythm, a cadence, a gentle suggestion to move slowly, breathe deeply, and notice every detail of the space. It was as though the garden itself were speaking, not with sound, but with presence, inviting him to align his own rhythm with its quiet pulse. He knelt beside a moss-covered stone and allowed his fingertips to brush its surface. The texture was cool and slightly damp, grounding him in the present moment. He could feel the careful design of the garden beneath his hands, each stone placed with intention, each plant pruned with deliberate care, each fountain balanced perfectly to create harmony in motion. It was a living lesson in mindfulness, teaching that patience and attention were themselves forms of strength. A small fountain gurgled nearby, water trickling gently over smooth stones into a shallow basin. Tiny fish glided beneath the surface, moving with effortless grace. The young seeker observed them for several quiet moments, noting how their movement was calm, precise, and entirely present. He realized that even creatures so small could embody the same principles he was learning from the flame and the Vestal Virgins: quiet presence, gentle action, and harmony with the surrounding world. Deeper into the garden, he noticed faint markings on a stone wall partially hidden by climbing ivy. They were small carvings, symbols of the sun, moon, and flame, intertwined with delicate spirals and lines. He traced them slowly with his eyes, letting the shapes flow into his awareness. Though he did not understand their full meaning, he felt a subtle lesson. The wisdom of the temple was layered and gradual, meant to be discovered slowly, in quiet attention rather than hurried study. A soft rustle drew his gaze to a nearby arbor where a single bird perched among the branches. Its feathers shimmered softly in the morning sun, and it tilted its head, watching him with calm curiosity. The young seeker smiled faintly, feeling a sense of kinship with the creature. He realized that the garden was alive in every element: stone, water, plant, and animal, all offering guidance through subtle presence. He continued along the path, each step slower than the last, noticing the interplay of sunlight and shadow, the delicate scent of blooming herbs, and the quiet music of trickling water. Every small observation seemed to open a window into understanding. Patience reveals details, presence reveals patterns, and calm awareness reveals the connections between all things. Eventually, he reached a small bench tucked beneath a flowering arbor, shaded and serene. He sat and let the warmth of the sun on his back blend with the gentle whispers of the garden. Closing his eyes, he allowed the soft energy of the hidden space to settle into his heart. The symbols, statues, water, and creatures had all taught him the same quiet truth: lasting strength and wisdom arise not from haste or effort, but from steady attention, calm reflection, and gentle care. With a long, slow breath, he rose from the bench, feeling the subtle guidance of the hidden garden within him. The path ahead promised more quiet discoveries, gentle lessons, and the soft unfolding of wisdom, and he knew that every deliberate step would carry him closer to understanding the deeper truths of the temple and the eternal flame. Meditation among the petals. The young seeker found a quiet clearing in the heart of the hidden garden, where sunlight filtered gently through the leaves, painting the stone floor with soft, dappled patterns. A small fountain gurgled in the center, its water spilling over moss-covered stones into a shallow basin, creating a rhythm that seemed to echo the pulse of the temple itself. He knelt slowly beside the fountain, allowing the soft warmth of the morning sun to touch his shoulders and the subtle fragrance of herbs and flowers to drift into his senses. The air was filled with gentle life, the whisper of leaves, the distant murmur of the eternal flame, and the delicate trill of birds hidden in the trees. Each sound blended seamlessly with the next, forming a quiet symphony that invited him to pause, breathe deeply, and center himself in the present moment. He felt the pulse of the garden beneath his hands, beneath his feet, beneath the very air around him, and he realized that every element, the stone, the water, the plants, the birds, was a teacher, offering guidance in calm and subtle ways. He closed his eyes, letting his breath slow to match the rhythm of the fountain. Inhale, slow and steady. Exhale, gentle and soft. He let the warmth of the sunlight, the coolness of the stone, and the quiet movement of the water sink into him, carrying with them a sense of stillness and harmony. The hidden garden was not just a place to walk, it was a space to become aware, to observe, and to integrate lessons into his being without hurry or effort. A soft breeze passed through the clearing, rustling leaves and brushing the young seeker's hair against his cheeks. It carried the faint scent of blooming roses and lavender, and he let it wrap around him like a gentle embrace. He felt connected to everything, the fountain, the petals, the soft moss underfoot, and he began to sense a quiet energy moving through him, a calm understanding that had been building slowly with each careful step, each attentive observation, each breath taken in rhythm with the garden. His eyes opened slowly, and he allowed them to rest on a small patch of flowers beside the fountain. The petals were pale and delicate, bending slightly under the soft caress of the wind. He observed their subtle movements, their gentle sway, and understood that even in stillness there is quiet motion. Even in silence there is life. Even in patience there is strength. The young seeker reflected on all he had seen in the hidden gardens, the careful placement of stones, the precise tending of plants, the graceful glide of fish in the fountain, the soft movements of birds, and the tiny carvings of deities and nymphs. All of these details, no matter how small, carried intention, mindfulness, and gentle guidance. He realized that true wisdom often exists in small, quiet moments, and that to notice and honor these moments is to cultivate patience, awareness, and calm strength. He knelt once more, resting his hands lightly on the stone edge of the fountain, and let his thoughts drift like petals on water. The lessons of the garden, the warmth of the eternal flame, and the careful presence of the Vestal Virgins all merged into a soft current flowing through him. He felt the gentle energy of the temple and the hidden garden intertwining with his own heartbeat, steady and slow, like the rhythm of a quiet stream. Time seemed to stretch in the clearing, each moment lingering like a soft whisper. He allowed the gentle teachings of the hidden garden to sink deep into his awareness, that observation brings insight, that patience builds strength, and that calm presence nourishes the soul. Even the smallest act, performed with intention and care, holds the power to create lasting harmony. Rising slowly, he felt a deep sense of gratitude for the sanctuary around him. Every step he had taken in the hidden garden, every breath, every quiet observation, had carried him closer to understanding the subtle rhythm of life and the enduring wisdom of calm, mindful presence. With deliberate, measured steps, he continued along the path, ready to explore the next corners of the temple, carrying the soft, reflective energy of the garden within him. The temple's inner sanctum entering the Sacred Heart, the young seeker moved slowly from the hidden gardens, feeling the soft warmth of the morning sunlight lingering on his skin. With each measured step, the quiet lessons of the garden and the eternal flame flowed gently through him, grounding his mind and soothing his thoughts. Ahead, the temple's inner sanctum awaited, its massive doors partially open, revealing shadows and glimmers of soft, golden light beyond. He approached with care, noticing the subtle carvings that adorned the doorway, intricate patterns of vines, spirals of flame, and small depictions of Vestal virgins moving gracefully in silent devotion. Each carving seemed alive with meaning, telling a story of patience, endurance, and reverence. The young seeker ran his fingertips lightly over the cool stone, feeling the energy of centuries embedded in the carvings, as if the very temple itself breathed and welcomed him forward. Stepping through the doorway, he was enveloped by a calm hush. The inner sanctum was a space of quiet grandeur, the air thick with the soft scent of incense and the warmth of the eternal flame at its center. Columns of polished stone rose like silent sentinels, their shadows stretching across the smooth marble floor. Soft light filtered through high windows, scattering in gentle beams that illuminated the intricate mosaics depicting the stories of Rome's sacred past. At the heart of the sanctum burned the eternal flame, larger and brighter than he had imagined, yet still calm and steady. Its glow seemed to reach every corner of the vast chamber, touching the columns, mosaics, and polished floors with a gentle, golden hue. He felt a quiet reverent stir in his chest, a soft recognition that he had entered the most sacred part of the temple, the beating heart of devotion, wisdom, and enduring presence. The Vestal virgins moved silently around the flame, their long robes brushing softly against the stone. They carried small bowls of offerings, adjusting candles and tending the fire with the same deliberate care he had observed in the courtyard and the hidden gardens. Every motion was fluid and precise, yet filled with a gentle energy that seemed to extend beyond themselves, wrapping the entire sanctum in a protective, calming embrace. The young seeker knelt at the edge of the hearth, allowing the steady warmth of the eternal flame to wash over him. He noticed the subtle flicker of light reflecting in the marble and the polished surfaces, casting moving patterns that danced slowly across the walls. Each flicker, each ripple of shadow, carried a quiet message. Stillness and attentiveness reveal hidden wisdom, patience fosters understanding, and calm presence strengthens the spirit. He observed the Vestals again, noticing the way they moved together as if choreographed by the sacred pulse of the temple. One virgin poured water into a shallow basin beside the flame, the gentle sound adding a soft rhythm to the chamber's quiet. Another adjusted a garland of flowers, ensuring each blossom rested perfectly. Their movements were unhurried yet purposeful, a reminder that devotion and care were not rushed but cultivated slowly, deliberately, and with constant mindfulness. The young seeker reached out to let his hands hover above the flame, feeling the subtle energy radiating from it. He sensed warmth, yes, but also a deeper, gentler force, a pulse of calm strength, enduring presence, and quiet wisdom. The eternal flame did not demand attention, it invited it. It did not command respect through fear, it earned it through constancy, patience, and the gentle care of those who tended it. A soft hush settled over the chamber, broken only by the faint rustle of robes and the gentle hum of incense. The young seeker closed his eyes, inhaling slowly, letting each breath synchronize with the rhythm of the flame and the measured presence of the Vestals. He felt the teachings of the courtyard, the hidden gardens, and the eternal flame merge within him, forming a calm, steady awareness that seemed to expand with every inhalation. Rising slowly to a seated position on a nearby bench, he allowed his eyes to follow the flame as it danced in quiet majesty. He realized that this inner sanctum was more than a sacred space. It was a living meditation, a place where presence, mindfulness, and quiet devotion combined to reveal the most enduring truths. And as he prepared to explore its deeper corners, he felt a soft anticipation for the reflections and subtle guidance still awaiting him, knowing that every step forward would be measured, deliberate, and deeply calming. Meditation in the heart of the flame. The young seeker knelt once more before the eternal flame, letting its warmth flow gently through him. Every flicker, every subtle dance of light, felt deliberate, as if the flame itself, the guardian of the flame. A meeting of quiet wisdom. The young seeker moved softly through the temple corridors, leaving behind the golden glow of the inner sanctum. The air was cooler here, carrying the faint scent of ancient stone, polished marble, and lingering incense. Shadows stretched along the walls, moving slowly as the sunlight filtered through high, narrow windows, painting delicate patterns on the floor. Every step he took was deliberate, measured, allowing the calm lessons of the eternal flame and the hidden gardens to settle even more deeply into his awareness. Ahead, a doorway opened onto a smaller chamber, dimly lit, yet warm with a subtle, inviting glow. The young seeker paused at the threshold, feeling a sense of anticipation, though it was gentle and unhurried. Here, he sensed the presence of someone, or something, that had long been entrusted with the deepest mysteries of the eternal flame. It was as though the very air of the chamber held a quiet expectation, waiting patiently for him to enter. Stepping inside, he saw her, the guardian of the flame. She was a Vestal unlike any he had encountered before. Her robes flowed softly around her, the fabric catching the light in gentle ripples. Her hands rested lightly upon a small pedestal beside a delicate, steady flame, her eyes calm yet alert, reflecting centuries of quiet devotion. There was no grand display of power, no need for ceremony or words. Her presence alone carried a profound authority, serene and unwavering. The young seeker approached slowly, bowing his head slightly in respect. The guardian's gaze met his, and he felt a subtle warmth, a welcoming kindness wrapped around a deep reservoir of knowledge. It was clear that she had spent her life tending not only the flame but also the quiet energy it represented, a legacy of patience, focus, and mindful presence. She gestured softly toward a stone bench near the flame, inviting him to sit. He lowered himself gently, feeling the smooth stone beneath him, and allowed the calm, steady rhythm of the flame to fill his senses once again. The guardian spoke then, her voice soft, deliberate, and steady, carrying the weight of calm wisdom. You have observed the flame, walked among the hidden gardens, and felt its presence in the inner sanctum. But now, you must learn that the eternal flame is not only a fire that burns, it is a teacher, a guide, and a mirror of the soul. The young seeker listened quietly, letting the words sink in slowly, like sunlight spreading across a cool floor. She continued, "Strength is often mistaken for force, endurance for stubbornness. True power is calm, steady, and mindful. The flame endures because it is nurtured with attention, devotion, and care. Those who approach it with haste or distraction cannot perceive its subtle lessons." He nodded slowly, feeling the meaning resonate within him. The warmth of the flame, the gentle cadence of her words, and the soft ambience of the chamber combined into a deep, meditative current that flowed through him. He understood that patience and focus were not passive qualities, they were active, living forces that required cultivation and gentle intention. The guardian extended her hand toward the flame, letting her fingers hover just above its steady glow. Place your hands lightly, feel its warmth, its rhythm. Let it speak to you in silence. Listen not with your ears, but with your awareness, your breath, and your attention. The young seeker reached out slowly, letting his palms hover just above the fire. He felt a gentle vibration, subtle and comforting, like the soft pulse of a heartbeat. It was not energy to be grasped or controlled, but to be felt, observed, and allowed. Every flicker, every ripple of heat, carried lessons of patience, enduring focus, and mindful presence. He closed his eyes, synchronizing his breath with the subtle rhythm of the flame. Inhale, gentle and steady. Exhale, calm and deliberate. The guardian's presence was quiet, yet profoundly grounding, guiding him deeper into a space where thought slowed, awareness sharpened, and understanding blossomed naturally. The young seeker felt a soft realization settle within him. The eternal flame was a mirror of the self. It showed him that true endurance, calm, and power are cultivated not through force, but through gentle attention, careful observation, and unwavering presence. The guardian, though silent now, was the living embodiment of this lesson, her calm mastery a reflection of the flame itself. Rising slowly, the young seeker felt the first ripple of transformation, a quiet confidence in his own patience, a soft strength in his stillness, and a gentle understanding that the journey with the eternal flame was far from over, but that he was ready to continue walking its deliberate path. Aligning with the flame, the young seeker remained seated on the stone bench, his palms still hovering just above the soft glow of the eternal flame. The warmth radiated gently into his skin, but more than that, it seemed to flow into the very rhythm of his mind, slowing his thoughts, quieting his racing impulses, and deepening his awareness. The guardian of the flame watched him with quiet patience, her eyes steady, encouraging him without words to feel, observe, and simply be present. "Close your eyes," she whispered softly, her voice barely above the faint murmur of the flame. "Let the flame guide you. Let its warmth, its flicker, its pulse become part of your own rhythm. Breathe slowly, deliberately, in harmony with its movement. Notice its constancy, its patience, and its calm power." The young seeker did as she instructed, inhaling slowly and letting the gentle warmth of the fire fill him. Exhale, smooth and measured. With each breath, he imagined the energy of the flame weaving into his own heartbeat, a soft, steady pulse connecting him to the eternal presence before him. The warmth spread through his chest, down his arms, and into his fingers, wrapping him in a cocoon of calm that seemed to expand with every inhalation. The guardian's presence was steady, like the unseen roots of an ancient tree, grounding the room in quiet assurance. She moved slowly around the bench, her robe brushing lightly against the stone, yet never breaking the sacred stillness. She did not touch the young seeker, nor did she speak further. Her silent movement was a lesson in itself, that awareness, attention, and presence are often more powerful than words or action. As he sat in meditation, he began to notice the subtle variations in the flame's movement. It was steady, yes, but alive, sometimes flickering slightly, sometimes reaching upward with quiet grace. Each subtle shift was a gentle invitation to notice, to align, and to adjust his own focus without forcing it. He felt a lesson settle into his chest, that life's true rhythm is not in control or force, but in attentive responsiveness, patience, and quiet alignment with what endures. The guardian moved to a small side table and picked up a bowl of water, setting it carefully near the hearth. She lifted her hand slowly, letting droplets fall in measured rhythm into the basin, creating tiny ripples that reflected the light of the flame. The young seeker noticed the effect. Each small ripple moved outward, touching the edges of the basin, interacting softly with the next. It was a perfect visual of how small, deliberate actions ripple into the world, harmonizing with steady, patient energy rather than clashing or forcing their way. He inhaled slowly, drawing in the scent of incense mingled with the fresh water and the faint fragrance of nearby flowers. Exhale, calm and measured. He let the ripple of water, the warmth of the flame, and the presence of the guardian weave together into a single thread of awareness flowing through him. It was as if every element of the inner sanctum, the light, the heat, the quiet movement, the scent, and even the shadows, was designed to teach him the art of aligning presence with patience and focus. The young seeker opened his mind fully to the lesson that true strength does not demand, it flows. True endurance does not strain, it persists. True wisdom does not speak loudly, it quietly guides and sustains. The eternal flame, tended by centuries of careful hands and deliberate attention, had become a mirror of this principle. He felt it resonate within him, a soft hum of understanding that connected his breath, his heartbeat, and his awareness to the timeless rhythm of the sacred fire. Time seemed to stretch in the chamber, every second drawn out like the slow unfolding of petals in sunlight. The young seeker remained still, observing, breathing, and gently aligning his own rhythm with that of the eternal flame. He felt the calm settle deep into his spine, his chest, and even the tips of his fingers, carrying with it the quiet confidence that patience and mindful presence are themselves forms of enduring strength. When he finally opened his eyes, the guardian smiled softly, a subtle nod of approval and quiet encouragement. He rose slowly, feeling lighter, steadier, and deeply attuned to the rhythm of the flame. Every step he took from the hearth was deliberate, measured, and full of a calm awareness that had been born from this intimate lesson. He understood that the journey with the eternal flame was not only about observing or learning, it was about becoming one with the rhythm of presence, patience, and quiet strength itself. Integration of calm wisdom. The young seeker rose slowly from the stone bench, feeling the warmth of the eternal flame flow gently through his body. Each movement was deliberate, measured, and quiet, as if he were carrying the rhythm of the flame within his very bones. The guardian of the flame remained nearby, her serene presence a gentle reminder that patience and focus are cultivated not in haste, but in calm, attentive awareness. He took a deep breath, inhaling the subtle scent of incense, warm stone, and faint herbs. Exhaling slowly, he allowed his mind to settle into the gentle cadence of the chamber. He noticed the small movements around him, the soft ripple of water in the basin, the flicker of the flame, the quiet rustle of the guardian's robe. Each motion carried intention, a silent lesson in presence and attentiveness that whispered softly to his heart. The young seeker knelt before the flame once more, letting his palms hover just above its gentle heat. He closed his eyes, feeling the pulse of the fire echoing through him, as though it were syncing with his own heartbeat. Inhale, gentle. Exhale, calm. With every breath, he felt the subtle energy of patience, focus, and quiet strength settle deeper into his being. It was as though the flame, the guardian, and the inner sanctum itself were weaving a soft, unbroken thread of wisdom through his mind and soul. He reflected on the lessons he had learned so far. The courtyard had taught him careful observation. The hidden gardens had taught him patience and awareness. The inner sanctum had taught him calm strength. And the guardian had shown him how to integrate all these lessons to align his own presence with the rhythm of enduring energy. Opening his eyes, he allowed them to rest on the dancing flame. Its glow was steady, constant, yet alive with subtle movement. He understood that the eternal flame was more than a fire, it was a living teacher. It did not shout, it did not demand, it simply existed with presence, patience, and unbroken attention. And in reflecting that presence, he discovered the same qualities within himself: quiet strength, gentle focus, and calm resilience. The guardian moved closer, her steps measured and soft. She gestured to the shallow basin beside the flame, where the tiny ripples of water mirrored the dancing light. "See how one small movement touches the entire surface," she said softly. "Even the smallest act, performed with care and attention, resonates far beyond itself. The flame, the water, the garden, and your own mind, everything responds to deliberate presence. This is the lesson of the eternal flame: patience, focus, and harmony create enduring strength." The young seeker nodded slowly, letting her words settle deep within him. He closed his eyes again, feeling the warmth of the flame, the rhythm of his breath, and the gentle energy of the guardian merge into a single current of awareness. He felt steady, calm, and fully present, as though the lessons of the temple had taken root in the very core of his being. A quiet smile touched his lips, a reflection of the serene confidence now flowing softly within him. Rising slowly, he bowed gently toward the flame, a gesture of gratitude and recognition. Every step he took as he moved away from the hearth was measured, deliberate, and full of quiet purpose. He felt ready to continue deeper into the temple, carrying the integrated wisdom of observation, patience, calm strength, and mindful alignment with him. The chamber seemed to hum softly, the light of the flame flickering just enough to remind him that presence is alive, dynamic, and enduring. He understood that the lessons of the Guardian and the eternal flame were not fleeting, they were seeds planted deep within, meant to grow slowly, patiently, and steadily over time. As he moved toward the next passage, the young seeker felt a profound serenity envelop him. He was no longer only an observer, he had begun to embody the rhythm of the eternal flame. And with each step forward, he carried not only the quiet guidance of the Guardian but also the calm, unbroken presence of the flame itself, ready to illuminate the path ahead. The chamber of whispers entering the gentle murmur, the young seeker moved softly through the quiet halls of the temple, each step slow and deliberate, carrying the steady rhythm of the eternal flame within him. The stone corridors stretched ahead, illuminated by faint, warm sunlight that filtered through narrow windows, scattering golden patterns along the polished floors. Every echo of his footsteps was soft, measured, almost musical, as if the temple itself were inviting him into a deeper, more reflective space. Ahead, a carved doorway appeared, its edges entwined with gentle patterns of leaves and spirals of flame. The young seeker paused, sensing the subtle difference in the air. It was cooler here, but also filled with a soft vibration, a quiet hum that seemed almost alive. He realized he had reached the Chamber of Whispers, a place within the temple where subtle voices of reflection, guidance, and gentle wisdom were said to linger. Stepping carefully through the threshold, he was greeted by a hushed, serene atmosphere. The walls were lined with softly glowing symbols, each carved into the stone with delicate precision. Some were shapes of flame, some of flowing water, others of flowers or celestial patterns. A faint, melodic murmur filled the air, so soft it was almost imperceptible, yet its rhythm seemed to move in harmony with his own heartbeat. He walked slowly into the chamber, letting the gentle vibrations of sound and light wash over him. It was as though the whispers were speaking not to his ears, but directly to his awareness, guiding him to notice the quiet subtleties that often go unnoticed in the rush of life. Each flicker of light on the walls, each soft echo of the chamber, and each subtle vibration of sound felt like a living meditation, teaching him once more the value of stillness, attention, and presence. A narrow path of smooth stone led deeper into the room, curving around small alcoves where faintly glowing pools of water reflected the soft symbols on the walls. The young seeker paused beside one of these pools, leaning lightly over its surface. The water shimmered gently, reflecting both the light of the chamber and the faint murmur of whispers that seemed to originate from nowhere and everywhere at once. He felt a soft sense of serenity settle over him, as though the chamber itself were a living guide, offering understanding through presence rather than through words. He knelt slowly beside the pool, letting his hands hover just above the water. Ripples formed with the slightest movement, reflecting light and sound in delicate, ever-changing patterns. The whispers seemed to harmonize with these ripples, soft and meditative, teaching him that small, mindful actions create subtle yet profound effects, and that attention to detail allows wisdom to unfold naturally. A gentle breeze moved through the chamber, brushing his hair and carrying faint scents of incense and herbs. It seemed to caress the walls and the pools, stirring the reflections and shifting the patterns of light. The young seeker inhaled slowly, letting the scents mingle with the soft sound of whispers and the reflective ripples in the water. He exhaled just as slowly, letting the calming energy of the chamber flow into him, integrating all that he had experienced so far on his journey. He observed the symbols on the walls, noticing their delicate intricacy. Some resembled flames dancing in slow, deliberate motion, others appeared as gentle waves of water flowing endlessly. Some were abstract spirals and patterns that seemed to pulse softly in the dim light. He realized that these were more than decorations, they were guides for reflection, teaching that even in stillness there is movement, even in silence there is wisdom, and even in patience there is quiet power. The young seeker sat cross-legged near the pool, closing his eyes and letting the chamber's gentle vibrations align with his own breathing. Inhale, slow and calm. Exhale, measured and soft. With each breath, he felt himself merge more deeply with the rhythm of the whispers, the pools, and the softly glowing symbols, becoming a quiet observer and participant all at once. A sense of unity began to fill him, a calm understanding that the chamber's lessons were woven into every surface, every reflection, every soft sound. He felt patience and awareness ripple through him like the gentle waves in the pools, reinforcing the steady presence he had cultivated with the eternal flame. And as he sat in meditative calm, he sensed that the chamber of whispers held still deeper insights, waiting to be discovered with slow, deliberate attention. Subtle messages and gentle reflections, the young seeker moved slowly through the chamber of whispers, feeling the soft hum of the room surround him like a gentle tide. Every footstep was deliberate, each breath measured and calm, allowing the subtle energy of the chamber to seep into his awareness. The softly glowing symbols along the walls seemed to shift slightly with the rhythm of his movement, their light flickering like distant stars in a quiet night sky. He approached a cluster of alcoves, each containing a shallow basin of water. The surface of the water shimmered faintly, reflecting the softly glowing carvings above. As he gazed, he noticed tiny ripples appearing, moving slowly outward, creating patterns that mirrored the light and shadows of the chamber. It was as if the room itself were breathing, responding delicately to his presence, offering lessons in subtlety, patience, and attentive awareness. He knelt beside one basin, resting his hands gently at its edges. The water felt cool and calm beneath his touch, a soft contrast to the gentle warmth lingering from the eternal flame. As he watched, the ripples and reflections began to form patterns, shapes that resembled soft spirals, gentle waves, and flickering flames. He understood, without needing to speak or think, that these were messages, reminders that quiet observation and patient attention reveal layers of wisdom that cannot be grasped in haste. A faint murmur filled the air, almost like whispered voices, though he could not discern words. It was soft and melodic, threading through the chamber in gentle waves. The young seeker closed his eyes for a moment, letting the subtle sound settle into his awareness. He realized that the whispers were not meant to be understood with logic, but with presence. Each murmur, each ripple, each faint flicker of light was a meditation, guiding him toward inner calm, gentle focus, and patient reflection. As he opened his eyes, he noticed that some symbols seemed to glow brighter as he lingered, almost as though the chamber responded to his quiet mindfulness. He followed the path along the walls, moving slowly, letting his gaze rest on each intricate carving. Some depicted small flames, delicate and steady. Others showed flowing water or vines curling gently around themselves. Each symbol was subtle yet powerful, teaching that strength, growth, and understanding emerge not from force, but from consistency, care, and patient attention. A soft draft moved through the chamber, carrying a faint scent of incense and distant flowers. The air seemed to brush gently against his skin, lifting strands of hair and rustling the robes of his journey. He inhaled slowly, letting the fragrance and the calm vibrations of the chamber flow into him. Exhale, measured. With every breath, he felt a growing harmony between himself and the space around him, as though the whispers, the pools, the light, and even the quiet stone walls were guiding him toward a deeper understanding of calm, focused presence. He paused at a particularly luminous symbol, a spiral of light and shadow intertwined, as if the two were dancing slowly together. He knelt, letting his hands hover above the polished stone. He allowed his awareness to merge with the subtle motion of the symbol, noticing how even the smallest flicker of light carried meaning when observed patiently. He realized that the Chamber of Whispers was not merely a place to walk through, but a place to feel, reflect, and integrate the lessons of quiet observation and enduring patience into his own being. Sitting cross-legged near the basin, he closed his eyes again, letting the gentle energy of the chamber settle fully into him. He felt the pulse of the water, the shimmer of light, and the faint murmur of whispers align with the rhythm of his own breath. Inhale, calm and slow. Exhale, gentle and steady. With each breath, the subtle wisdom of the chamber seemed to flow inward, leaving a sense of balance, clarity, and quiet strength that touched his heart and mind alike. Time became fluid, each moment stretching and lingering as he absorbed the soft lessons of the chamber. He realized that the whispers were not simply sounds, but a reflection of the quiet presence that sustains the eternal flame, the hidden gardens, and all sacred spaces of the temple. Every ripple, every flicker, every subtle movement was part of a rhythm meant to be noticed, embraced, and gently integrated into the seeker's own awareness. Finally, he rose slowly, carrying the calm, reflective energy of the Chamber of Whispers within him. Each step felt deliberate, measured, and infused with the quiet understanding that patience, mindfulness, and attentive presence are not just practices, they are living currents of strength, ready to guide him deeper into the temple's sacred mysteries. Deep reflection and integration. The young seeker knelt once more beside the gently rippling pool, letting the soft reflections of the chamber wash over him. The subtle hum of whispers filled the air, barely audible, yet deeply felt, threading through the room like a delicate current. He inhaled slowly, drawing the calm energy of the space into his body, and exhaled softly, releasing all tension and distraction. Every breath seemed to carry him deeper into the rhythm of the chamber, aligning his awareness with the soft pulse of light, water, and sound. He closed his eyes, focusing on the gentle motion of the water and the soft flicker of symbols along the walls. Each ripple, each subtle glow, each faint whisper felt like a quiet teacher, guiding him toward patience, reflection, and mindful presence. He realized that the chamber did not teach through loud instruction or grand gestures, it taught through attention, stillness, and gentle observation, and he let himself absorb these lessons fully. The young seeker's thoughts began to slow, settling like sediment in a calm pond. He reflected on the path that had brought him here. The courtyard had shown him the value of careful observation. The hidden gardens had nurtured his patience and mindfulness. The inner sanctum had taught him calm strength. And now, the Chamber of Whispers offered a softer, subtler layer, a meditation on quiet understanding and the gentle power of reflection. He opened his eyes briefly, letting them follow the patterns of light across the rippling water. Each flicker and wave seemed deliberate, moving in harmony with the whispers that floated through the chamber. He noticed how one small ripple could shift the reflections, creating new patterns that were intricate, delicate, and mesmerizing. The lesson was clear: even small, patient actions, performed with awareness, create lasting and meaningful impact. A soft breeze moved through the chamber, brushing across his skin and lifting strands of hair lightly from his face. It carried the faint fragrance of incense and distant blossoms, weaving through the whispers and ripples like a gentle thread. He inhaled deeply, letting the scent and the rhythm of the chamber fill him completely. Exhale, calm. Inhale, steady. He felt a deep sense of alignment, as though his inner rhythm had merged seamlessly with the pulse of the space around him. The young seeker placed his hands lightly on the stone edge of the basin, feeling the cool surface beneath his fingertips. He allowed his awareness to flow through his palms, imagining the gentle current of the chamber weaving into his own being. He understood that the teachings of the Chamber of Whispers were not fleeting, they were meant to be carried within him, integrated into every breath, every step, and every subtle movement of his life. Time seemed to stretch and bend softly in the chamber, each moment lingering, gentle and unhurried. He let himself sink fully into this quiet reflection, feeling gratitude for the wisdom that had been patiently offered in silence. He noticed the harmony between the flame he had left behind, the gardens he had walked, and the subtle whispers surrounding him now. All of these threads, he realized, were connected: presence, patience, mindfulness, and gentle attention form the foundation of enduring strength and quiet wisdom. Slowly, he rose from the basin, carrying with him the integrated lessons of the chamber. Each step was measured, deliberate, and calm, infused with the understanding that even in silence and stillness, great growth and transformation occur. He paused at the center of the room, taking one final deep breath, letting the soft whispers, the rippling water, and the glowing symbols imprint themselves fully upon his awareness. With a gentle bow toward the chamber, he turned and prepared to leave, feeling the quiet power of reflection and mindfulness now rooted deeply within him. The Chamber of Whispers had not only shown him the value of stillness and observation, it had allowed him to become a part of its gentle rhythm, carrying patience, calm, and quiet awareness into the next stage of his journey through the temple. Resonance of past and present, the young seeker continued slowly through the Hall of Echoes, feeling the gentle hum of the chamber ripple through him like a soft current. Every footstep, every quiet shift of his weight seemed to linger in the air, returning in soft repetitions that mingled with the low, almost imperceptible vibration of the walls. He realized that this hall was alive not with sound, but with reflection, a resonance that allowed the past, present, and subtle future to meet in calm harmony. He paused beside a shallow basin, its surface still except for the faint reflections of the softly glowing symbols above. Kneeling, he let his fingers hover just above the water. Tiny ripples formed and spread slowly, merging with faint reflections of light. It felt as though each ripple carried more than a disturbance in water. It carried intention, care, and awareness outward, echoing softly back to him, like a gentle reminder of the continuity of mindful action. As he observed the reflections, he became aware of subtle images in the water, echoes of his own movements in previous chambers, the gentle steps through the courtyard, the deliberate gestures in the hidden gardens, the patient attentions to the eternal flame, and even the silent guidance of the guardian. All of these seemed to float before him, soft and meditative, like memories replayed slowly in golden light. He realized that the Hall of Echoes was showing him that every act of mindfulness, no matter how small, contributes to the enduring rhythm of awareness and calm. A faint murmur filled the chamber, weaving through the echoes of movement. It was neither words nor music, but a soft, resonant vibration that seemed to harmonize with the seeker's own breath. He inhaled deeply, feeling the resonance align with his heartbeat. Exhale, measured. Inhale, slow and calm. With every breath, he felt the subtle connection between his own presence and the reflections of the hall deepen, as though his awareness and the temple itself were merging into a single, harmonious rhythm. The young seeker walked further along the corridor, his steps deliberate and slow. He noticed that the echoes were not merely passive repetitions, they were responsive, enhancing his calm, extending the energy of patience and mindful attention. A step taken slowly returned as a soft reverberation of presence, a breath drawn deliberately returned as a subtle wave of warmth and focus through the hall. It was as if the chamber itself was teaching him that quiet, consistent awareness amplifies itself, creating enduring ripples in the mind and spirit. He approached a larger alcove where the carvings on the walls glowed softly, depicting spirals of flame intertwined with flowing water, each line delicate and intentional. He knelt before them, letting his gaze soften, absorbing the subtle energy of their design. The reflections in the basin nearby mirrored the patterns, moving gently with the resonance of the chamber. He noticed that the echoes of his own awareness seemed to mingle with the light, creating a quiet dance of interaction and harmony. The young seeker closed his eyes, breathing slowly, and allowed the lessons of the hall to settle fully within him. He realized that the echoes were not merely external, they reflected the presence he carried within himself, reinforcing calm strength, gentle patience, and mindful focus. Each ripple in the water, each soft hum of the chamber, each glowing pattern on the walls became part of his inner rhythm, weaving the lessons of the temple deeper into his awareness. Time stretched and lingered, soft and fluid, as he let himself sit in the gentle resonance. The whispers, the reflections, and the soft vibration seemed to speak without words, reminding him that awareness and care are never lost. They echo endlessly, shaping everything they touch. He felt a profound sense of calm, a steady pulse of presence flowing through him, reinforcing the quiet strength he had been cultivating since the first steps in the temple. Finally, he rose slowly, feeling the energy of the Hall of Echoes settle into his body and mind like a warm, steady current. Every motion, every breath, every quiet intention now felt amplified by the subtle resonance of the hall. He understood that these lessons, careful observation, patient focus, calm strength, mindful alignment, and reflective awareness, were threads of a larger tapestry, all flowing together into a rhythm of enduring presence. With a soft bow toward the alcoves and the softly glowing symbols, he continued along the corridor, carrying the quiet, reflective energy of the Hall of Echoes with him, ready to move toward the final stages of the temple's sacred mysteries. Integration of resonant wisdom. The young seeker paused at the center of the Hall of Echoes, letting the soft hum and gentle reflection surround him fully. He took a slow, deliberate breath, feeling the resonance of the chamber echo through his body, as if the very air carried the wisdom of countless footsteps, breaths, and quiet attentions that had come before him. Exhale, soft and measured. Inhale, calm and steady. He felt a wave of serenity settle into his chest, flowing outward to every limb, every fingertip, and even the tips of his hair. He knelt beside a shallow basin, its surface shimmering faintly in the soft glow of the hall. The reflections of the carvings above, spirals of flame, gentle waves of water, intertwining leaves and stars, shifted with the slightest ripple of his hand. He allowed the water to mirror his presence, quiet and deliberate, noticing how each small movement created gentle waves that traveled outward and returned in soft harmony with the chamber. The lesson was clear, even subtle. Patient attention leaves lasting impressions, echoing quietly yet profoundly through space and time. Closing his eyes, he focused on the soft hum that filled the hall, letting it resonate with the rhythm of his own heartbeat. He visualized the journey that had brought him here. The courtyard had taught him careful observation. The hidden gardens had nurtured patience and mindful presence. The inner sanctum had revealed calm strength. The guardian of the flame had shown him integration and alignment. The chamber of whispers had guided him to subtle reflection. And now, the hall of echoes amplified all these lessons, showing him how attention, mindfulness, and gentle presence resonate outward, creating a quiet, enduring rhythm in both the world and within himself. He breathed slowly, letting each inhalation draw in the soft energy of the hall and each exhalation release tension, distraction, and impatience. He felt the echoes of past actions and mindful breaths mingle with his current awareness, creating a seamless flow of calm energy. It was as if the chamber itself had become part of him, its soft resonance now integrated into his own being. Every step he had taken, every lesson he had absorbed, and every breath he drew now moved together as a harmonious, steady current. The young seeker opened his eyes and let them rest on the softly glowing carvings above the basins. He noticed how the light seemed to respond to his calm presence, flickering gently in subtle rhythm with the echo of his thoughts and breath. He understood that the hall was not merely reflecting him, it was teaching him the importance of harmonizing with the environment, aligning intention with presence, and cultivating quiet strength that endures through gentle, consistent awareness. He stood slowly, feeling the resonance of the hall flow through him, grounding him in patience, mindful focus, and serene confidence. Each motion of his body felt deliberate, every step measured, carrying with it the calm energy he had absorbed throughout his journey in the temple. He sensed that the lessons of the Hall of Echoes were not confined to the walls or the basins. They were now part of him, an enduring rhythm that he could carry wherever his path would lead. Before leaving, he paused at the center once more and bowed lightly toward the glowing symbols, the softly rippling basins, and the gentle hum that filled the space. He allowed gratitude to flow quietly within him, acknowledging the subtle guidance and wisdom that had been offered in silence, in reflection, and in resonance. He realized that the temple was not simply a place to walk through, it was a living teacher, each chamber offering new layers of calm, patient, and mindful strength, guiding him toward the integration of all he had learned. With measured steps, the young seeker turned toward the far end of the hall, ready to leave the gentle hum of echoes behind. Yet he carried its lessons fully within him, that patience, mindfulness, and attentive presence create lasting impact, that small, deliberate actions resonate far beyond themselves, and that calm, enduring strength arises from quiet alignment with the rhythms of life. He moved forward with serenity in his heart, a steady rhythm in his steps, and a soft awareness that the next stage of the temple's sacred mysteries awaited him, ready to unfold in its own gentle, deliberate time. The chamber of eternal flame. Approaching the heart of the temple, the young seeker walked slowly, deliberately, down the final corridor of the temple. Each step felt steady, calm, and full of quiet awareness, carrying with him the gentle lessons of the courtyard, the hidden gardens, the inner sanctum, the guardian, the chamber of whispers, and the hall of echoes. The temple seemed to recognize his presence, the soft glow of lanterns along the walls flickering warmly as if welcoming him closer to its heart. Ahead, a massive doorway rose, carved with intricate patterns of flame, water, and stars, interwoven with symbols he had glimpsed in previous chambers. The air here was warmer, carrying a subtle vibration, a gentle hum that seemed to resonate directly with his chest, his heartbeat, and even his breath. He paused before stepping through the threshold, letting the energy of the chamber flow around him, preparing his mind and body for the culmination of his journey. The chamber of eternal flame opened before him like a vast, sacred expanse. In its center, a single, steady flame burned atop a polished pedestal of stone. It was larger, calmer, and more radiant than any fire he had seen before. Its light spread softly across the chamber, illuminating delicate carvings and gently flickering symbols along the walls. The flame was alive, yet serene. It demanded nothing, yet commanded quiet attention. He approached slowly, feeling the warmth radiate softly into his hands and chest, though he kept his distance, allowing its energy to flow gently around him. The hum of the chamber mingled with the faint murmur of past echoes and whispers, creating a soft symphony that seemed to carry the essence of the temple itself. The young seeker inhaled slowly, feeling his breath align with the pulse of the eternal flame. Exhale, calm. Inhale, steady. With every breath, he felt the lessons of every chamber converge within him, flowing together like a river of quiet strength, mindful presence, and enduring patience. The guardian of the flame appeared silently at the edge of the chamber, her robes flowing softly as she observed him. Her eyes, calm and full of quiet wisdom, reflected the fire's light, and she spoke in a voice as gentle as the hum of the chamber. You have walked the temple with care. You have learned patience, observation, presence, and reflection. Now, the eternal flame will teach you the culmination of its wisdom, not through words, not through action, but through integration of all that you have absorbed. The young seeker knelt slowly, palms hovering just above the warm stone pedestal. The flame's gentle energy flowed around him, soft, alive, and steady, as if reaching into his very mind and heart. He closed his eyes, breathing in harmony with the rhythm of the fire, letting the energy of calm strength, mindful attention, and reflective presence settle deeply within him. He reflected quietly on his journey. The courtyard had shown observation. The hidden gardens had nurtured patience. The inner sanctum had revealed calm strength. The guardian had demonstrated integration. The chamber of whispers had offered subtle reflection. The hall of echoes had amplified the resonance of presence. Now, in the chamber of eternal flame, all of these threads intertwined seamlessly, forming a single, quiet current of enduring wisdom. The young seeker allowed himself to feel the flame's energy as a living rhythm, aligning his heartbeat, breath, and awareness with its calm, steady pulse. Each flicker, each gentle wave of heat, each soft resonance of the chamber became a teacher, guiding him to understand that true strength, enduring patience, and mindful presence are not external forces, but currents cultivated quietly within, flowing outward naturally into the world. He inhaled slowly, feeling warmth and calm spread through his chest, his arms, and his legs. Exhale, soft and measured. He felt a quiet power settling in his spine, a steady light within his mind, and a calm radiance surrounding his entire being. The lessons of the temple, the guidance of the guardian, the whispers of reflection, and the echoes of patience, all coalesced into a single, serene understanding that presence, patience, and mindful attention are themselves the eternal flame, alive within him always. Rising slowly, he allowed his gaze to rest on the flame, recognizing both its majesty and its quiet serenity. He knew that while he would leave the chamber, the energy, calm, and wisdom of the eternal flame would remain within him, carried gently in every step, every breath, and every quiet moment of awareness. Meditation with the eternal flame. The young seeker knelt before the eternal flame, letting its gentle warmth wash over him like a soft tide. The air of the chamber was still, yet filled with a subtle vibration, a hum so quiet it was almost a whisper, yet it resonated deep within his chest. He closed his eyes and breathed slowly, deliberately, letting each inhalation and exhalation align with the calm, steady pulse of the flame. Inhale, soft and full. Exhale, measured and gentle. With each breath, he felt the energy of the eternal flame settle deeper into him, flowing through his chest, down his arms, and into his fingertips. It was not a forceful energy, but a living, breathing rhythm, teaching him through presence rather than instruction. The warmth of the flame merged with the steady beat of his own heart, and a quiet sense of harmony filled him from head to toe. He reflected on his journey through the temple, letting the memories of each chamber drift through his mind like gentle waves. The courtyard had taught him observation, noticing small details with careful attention. The hidden gardens had nurtured patience, allowing time to unfold naturally. The inner sanctum had revealed calm strength, showing him the power of steady focus. The guardian had guided him toward integration, connecting lessons without force or rush. The chamber of whispers had offered subtle reflection, revealing that wisdom often comes in silence. The hall of echoes had amplified these lessons, showing that mindful actions resonate far beyond themselves. And now, in the chamber of eternal flame, all of these lessons converged. They flowed together like a single, steady river, carrying him to a place of quiet understanding, calm presence, and enduring inner strength. The seeker focused his mind on the flame, noticing its subtle movements, the soft flicker, the gentle warmth radiating outward, the way its light danced across the walls and reflected in the basins nearby. He realized that the flame was not only a source of light but a mirror of his own inner rhythm, steady, alive, patient, and enduring. It did not demand, it did not rush, it simply existed, and through its presence, it taught him the quiet power of being fully aligned with the flow of life. He let the hum of the chamber and the warmth of the flame fill every part of him. His breath became slower, deeper, more deliberate. His thoughts softened and stretched, allowing calm awareness to spread like a gentle tide through his mind. He felt every muscle relax, every heartbeat synchronize with the subtle resonance of the flame, and every worry or tension dissolve quietly into the still air of the chamber. The guardian watched silently, her presence steady and calming. She did not speak, for none was needed. The chamber and the flame were teaching him more profoundly than words ever could. He felt her guidance in the soft light, in the rhythm of the flame, and in the quiet of the space around him. It was a living lesson in integration, showing that strength, patience, and mindfulness exist not as separate acts, but as a unified current flowing through awareness and presence. Minutes passed, though in this quiet space time seemed to stretch, linger, and flow without urgency. The young seeker felt the flame's warmth infuse his entire being. He realized that he was not merely observing, it was as though the flame's essence had become part of him, a calm, steady pulse within his own heart, guiding him, sustaining him, and illuminating the path ahead. He opened his eyes softly, letting the light of the flame fill his vision. Its gentle glow was steady yet alive, reminding him that true strength and calm arise from alignment, patience, and mindful attention. The lessons of the temple, the guidance of the guardian, and the resonance of the past chambers now flowed together within him as a quiet, enduring force. Rising slowly, the young seeker felt a profound serenity envelop him. Every step, every breath, every subtle motion now carried the integration of the eternal flame's wisdom. He understood that while this chamber was the culmination of the temple's teachings, its energy would remain with him forever, a quiet current of calm, steady presence in his heart. Full integration and serene completion, the young seeker knelt one last time before the eternal flame, letting its warmth and gentle glow flow fully into him. The chamber was still, yet alive with soft vibrations that resonated through the floor, the walls, and the air around him. He inhaled slowly, drawing in the calm, steady energy of the flame. Exhale, soft and deliberate. Inhale, gentle and full. Every breath seemed to merge with the rhythm of the flame, creating a quiet harmony within his mind, body, and spirit. He felt the lessons of the temple converge, the courtyard's observation, the hidden garden's patience, the inner sanctum's calm strength, the guardian's guidance in integration, the subtle reflections of the chamber of whispers, the amplified resonance of the hall of echoes, and now, the eternal presence of this sacred flame. All flowed together as a single current of understanding, steady and unwavering. He realized that the temple was not merely a place to be walked through, but a living guide that had been shaping him gently, moment by moment, breath by breath, step by step. And the eternal flame was its heart, not commanding, not forcing, but simply existing, radiating calm, presence, and enduring strength for anyone willing to align with it. The young seeker rested his hands lightly on the pedestal, letting the heat seep gently through his palms into his chest. He closed his eyes, letting all thoughts dissolve into the quiet, luminous energy of the chamber. Every ripple of awareness from the past chambers, the soft hum of the hall of echoes, the gentle reflections of the chamber of whispers, the measured steps through the gardens, flowed into him now as a single, integrated rhythm. He felt fully present, fully grounded, and fully aligned with the enduring energy of the eternal flame. A deep sense of serenity spread through him, filling every limb, every muscle, and every corner of his mind. It was as though the flame's calm presence had become a part of him, an inner light and rhythm that would remain steady, quiet, and alive no matter where he went. He could feel it in the slow, measured beat of his heart, in the soft warmth of his hands, and in the gentle, steady flow of his breath. All of the lessons, all of the reflections, and all of the guidance from the temple had merged into a single, calm force of mindful awareness. The guardian stepped forward softly, her presence comforting and steady. She did not speak, for none was needed. Her quiet gaze conveyed understanding, approval, and encouragement, and he knew she recognized the full integration of his journey. He felt gratitude rise within him, not as a rush of emotion, but as a soft, steady warmth, a quiet acknowledgement of all that had been offered to him in this sacred space. The young seeker rose slowly, every motion deliberate, carrying the full calm and wisdom of the temple with him. He looked once more at the eternal flame, letting its soft glow imprint itself in his mind and heart. He bowed gently, a gesture of gratitude and recognition, and understood fully that the flame's presence was not bound to this chamber. It had become part of him, a living current of calm strength, patient attention, and mindful presence to guide every step he would take beyond these walls. As he walked toward the exit of the chamber, the temple seemed to hum quietly in response, a soft acknowledgement of the harmony he had cultivated. Each step felt light, deliberate, and infused with gentle energy. He carried with him the rhythm of the eternal flame, the resonance of the hall of echoes, the reflections of the chamber of whispers, the calm strength of the inner sanctum, the patience of the gardens, and the careful observation of the courtyard. All of it was a single, integrated thread of presence and wisdom flowing quietly within him. Finally, he reached the doorway leading back into the sunlight, stepping slowly into the open air. The warmth of the world outside felt different now, soft, inviting, and harmonious. He inhaled the fresh air, carrying the calm, steady energy of the temple with him. Exhale, gentle. Inhale, full. He knew that wherever he went, the lessons of the temple and the eternal flame would remain: patience, presence, reflection, careful attention, calm strength, and mindful alignment with the flow of life. He walked forward slowly, carrying the quiet, enduring wisdom of the temple in every step, ready to move through the world with serene awareness and inner peace. The eternal flame would always burn within him,